The dogs. Ooh. So, I wanted to talk about something that happened this afternoon between these two dogs and how it made me think about a really common issue that you see in dog parks, because it's a place where like a lot of stranger dogs get together. That's like a common issue people have with dogs in general, which is that they sometimes get into fights. And I think a lot of times we talk about that in terms of like, is the dog aggressive or friendly? Is the dog well trained or not well trained? And I think all those things can be true, right? Not discounting it. But I also think a big thing is just kind of something that's harder to replicate, which is trust and the relationship between dogs that know each other well. So, I'll say what happened this afternoon, which really is like an hour ago, maybe it happened, which is like these two had a little bit of a dust up. But like, I'll foreground this with like how they usually play. They both play pretty rough, I would say. Most of their games are like chasing games that turn into wrestling games. And in those wrestling games, Yadkin usually flops on his back and lets Dasher climb on top of him and bite him in the neck and bite him in the face. And then they chase each other and they do it again. And Yadkin will sometimes signal he wants to play by finding Dasher wherever she is and like pulling her tail, pulling a leg, barking at her like, hey, come chase me, come chase me. And I actually used to think like, oh, that's nice that he, when they're wrestling, he always takes the initiative to lay down and let her like climb on him and bite him because he's the bigger dog. And I figured like he's doing this because he must know that's the best way for the game to continue, because he's like almost twice her size. I think he's got 25 pounds on her at least. Dash is like 33 pounds at the last vet visit, I want to say. 34 maybe. And gosh, he's got to be at least 55 by now. Anyway, I would think that's like a thing he does because he's a bigger dog. And it wasn't until I watched some of the puppy videos I have of Yadkin back when he was smaller than Dasher, and I saw like, no, he's always done that. So it might just be his personality, or like a reflection that Dasher is the older dog. I will say Dasher is used to living with another dog, as long as she's been with me, that is bigger than her. So when she was a puppy with Leo, right, Leo would let her jump on her and bite at her and run around her because she's a smaller dog and a puppy with more energy than she had at like 10. So who knows? Who knows what's going on there? Except I do know what's going on there, right? Because I have more information, which is like Yadkin at the dog park. Yadkin at the dog park with strange dogs does not do that. He does not flop on his back and invite other dogs to like bite him when he's vulnerable. He doesn't like take any sort of, he does not automatically assume any sort of vulnerable position when he's being friendly with dogs in the dog park. Like they'll do some chasing games and they'll both like rear up on their hind legs and things like that. I would even say he doesn't play as roughly with stranger dogs at the park, which is probably a sensible thing. And so what I'm getting at here is like the reason that they act the way they do is because they know each other really well. Something that happens when they wrestle, like at least once every day, if not every other day maybe, is like they'll be wrestling, they'll be running around, they'll be very noisy about it, yapping, barking, growling, whatever. And then I'll just hear like a loud squeak or like a yelp or something, right? And it means one or the other of them has like done something that hurt the other dog. And what happens 99% of the time is that yelp means they both immediately pause what they're doing. And sometimes they pause and then keep playing. Sometimes they pause and there's like some sniffing and like face licking between them and they keep playing. Sometimes they pause and like they'll kind of shake. They'll just shake their bodies, which is like a thing dogs do when they're kind of trying to dispel tension, and they will just go their separate ways. The game will be over. They'll stop playing and go into separate corners, right? And this is like an example a pretty effective communication. These dogs are playing roughly, and if some dog like goes too far, they'll be like, ow, that hurts, and they'll stop. And they'll like either keep playing differently or, you know, just stop playing the game altogether and like no hard feelings, right? So what happened this afternoon is basically Dasher, something happened. I don't know whether Yadkin bit Dasher in a way and didn't stop when she yelped, or if he got her in a space that was sore for her for some reason. She did tweak her leg recently. I had to go to the vet for that. And it turned out to be nothing serious because it cleared up with like 2 weeks of anti-inflammatories and some painkillers. So who knows? It was something about her wrist joint. Maybe it was there. Or maybe he bit her on the ear because their ears are sensitive. Who knows? It could be literally anything, because I didn't see how it started. I saw the middle and the end, which is Dasher's loud yelp, and a yelp that within the span of a few seconds, maybe like 3, transitioned from a long yelp to a growl, to like a roar. And then she's biting Yadkin, who, like as usual, is on his back so that Dasher could bite him. And he's biting her back while he does it. Like, she bites him, he bites her. But like she starts biting him like pretty in quick, rapid succession. And which also is not unusual for how they play. But like clearly there's a difference, because that hurt Yadkin because he yelped. He was like, ow, what, that hurts. And then his yelp turned into like a growl, like, hey, that actually really hurts. And he gets up on his feet, and now they're both growling at each other, right? But they're not squaring off. They're not like stiff standing in each other's faces like growling. They're like immediately growling, facing each other for a second, and walking past each other to retreat to separate areas of the room. Like they both were like, ow, that hurts, I'm angry, and I'm walking away. And they both walked away. Dasher eventually retreated to the armchair. She likes to curl up in and always has. Loves that armchair. They both like the armchair, but Dasher's been doing it for way longer. Since before Yadkin was born, has been in that armchair, and will usually get it before he does. But and then Yadkin, because he's a big baby, actually came up to me, and he was still growling about this. Like he was like on his hind legs up to me, like, I'm upset, and also like comfort me because I'm hurt. Did you see what she did? She hurt me. It's very funny. Yadkin always does this. A fun incident. We were at a herding like clinic with his breeder, and I think she was fussing at him for something he did not do, which is common for him because he's stubborn. And at one point he walks away from her. He's up on his hind legs at me like, she's yelling at me. Why is she yelling at me? I don't like that. It's just, he just always like comes to me like for comfort when something goes wrong in his life, when he feels like somebody else is being mean to him. I wonder if he'll always be that way. In the beginning, I thought this was like a puppy thing, but he's 3 now, and he just did this today. So it was very funny. Anyway, so yeah, that happened. And like within 5 minutes, everything was fine, right? And I think anybody who has a multi-dog household, that story would be very familiar to them. Like a normal, harmonious multi-dog household, and not one that's like chaos, right? Is like the dogs are playing, and maybe it's all fun and games till somebody actually gets hurt, and there's like a little bit of growling and grumbling, and so they're upset, but like they resolve that themselves within seconds, and they resolve it themselves within seconds by literally just walking away. And it's like, why do they do that, right? Why did that happen? Nice jump, Yadkin, very good. Look at you. Oh, the boy. Very nice jump. You did that from like standing still. I'm proud of you, buddy. Anyway, so why do they do that? Is it because like their personalities, right? They're just a credit to their breeders. They're just like really chill, communicative, level-headed dogs? Or is it like because of my excellent training, I just raised really well-behaved dogs that don't start fights, and they just trust in my leadership and the environment I've created, that they don't have to fight to protect themselves? I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm sure those things mean something. But like, I think more than literally any other factor, the factor that stopped that incident from being a dog fight, or any of the other times where a dog might yelp and they instead pause the game and keep playing or just walk away. And there wasn't any like a step where they had today, where there was like some growling and snapping because whatever, they hurt each other in a way that like made them both angry. I think the number one factor in that is like trust and friendship. As like these two dogs are not just like they're friendly dogs, because I would say, I don't know if Dasher even is. Dasher does not want to play with stranger dogs most of the time. Yadkin does. Yadkin loves everybody. He's very friendly. He's got a bit of a golden retriever personality. He's a terrible guard dog. But anyway, it's really less that they are friendly and more that they are friends, that they're a family, and like they have years at this point of a foundation of trust between the two of them, such that they both know that even if one of them hurts the other while they're playing, they're not in an actual situation where they have to fight to defend themselves. Or not even fight to defend themselves, but like put up enough of a front that says like, hey, you can't push me around, in case that they don't feel like they're in any real danger, basically. There's no threat, right? It's like a little argument between family, essentially. And I think that is something that when we talk about like the kind of semi-common scenario of like fights cropping up at dog parks is a piece of the puzzle that like I don't see a lot of people talking about as often. I'm sure like I'm not the first person to say this, I'm sure. But like sometimes fights at dog parks happen because dogs play by chasing and biting each other, and the dogs at the park might be different ages and sizes, and like the way that they play automatically puts them in a vulnerable position that might hurt someone or might scare another dog. And if the dog is not very, very confident and doesn't know the other dogs, well, like that, what could be like an ow, that hurts, or like this game is too intense, could just become a fight. Could become a case where a dog feels like it needs to defend itself, or even if it doesn't, a dog could react with like the sort of like snap that they do that isn't meant to connect, but meant to telegraph, hey, I mean what I'm saying, stop it, I'm angry. And the other dog could interpret that as a genuine threat, and that could be the start of a fight. Like there's so many avenues for like these strange animals that can only communicate with their mouths that are filled with sharp teeth to wind up in a situation where they're fighting each other. And the fact that it doesn't happen more often is in fact a testament to like how sociable and good at interpersonal communication dogs are as like an animal, right? Because I don't think you see their closest living relatives, wolves, are not like meeting up with stranger wolves and having fun games and playing and then like resolving those without killing. Like they, the number one way wolves die is like starvation as puppies and then in territorial disputes. Actually, I don't know the numbers on that, but I know that most wild animals are a lot more territorial and aggressive and possessive of resources than domesticated animals, who are more docile and friendly because people have to keep them in close quarters with each other, right? To the extent where like those dog breeds that are more territorial, that are more selective and choosy with who they allow in their space, are like specially selected guardian breeds who have that more kind of suspicious nature about them because it's just so much more useful. And these two are farm dogs, right? They're sheep dogs, English shepherds. It's just so much more useful to have a dog that's like chill. So anyway, all that said, even with that scenario, dogs in dog parks get into fights, right? And I think that sometimes the dogs in the dog parks get into fights, not necessarily because any individual dog is especially aggressive or short-tempered, but solely because it's just like, I don't know, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. And if you don't have either a basis of trust or like a lot of experience maybe interacting with stranger dogs, so you're very good at like communicating, picking up other dog signals, adjusting your play style on the fly when it's like, oh, this dog is like freaked out, this is too intense, let me play it in a more gentle way. You're just bound to have something like that happen. I also think like if you just have a young dog, that's bound to happen, because like any dog under 2, they come in like a giant puppy, sometimes a literal puppy, and they're just running all over the place, bowling other dogs over, not really paying attention to social signals, being kind of rude in a pushy way. And there's certainly dogs that are rude and pushy. That's another factor. And they might be rude and pushy and not necessarily aggressive, but they're rude and pushy in a way that is going to lead to other dogs having to communicate very firmly and harshly with them, and in a way that scares people. And it doesn't scare people for no reason. It scares people because a dog growling and showing teeth and snapping could be the precursor to a fight if the other dog interprets that as enough of a threat, or if the dog means it as a threat. If you don't know the other dog, you don't know the person's dog, the dogs don't know each other. Sometimes they just don't know. Like, are you telling me to stop in a firm voice, or are you threatening me? Is this other dog about to attack my dog? Or were they just playing too roughly and the game is over and the other dog was saying so? Impossible to tell. And I would never, ask anybody to kind of put their pet at risk waiting to see in a scenario where like these vet bills are out of control. So all that said, that's just what I've been thinking about since this afternoon. I think about this every time I see them play, and like how happy I am that I have had 2 dogs since 2017 when I got Dasher, because I think that they play a lot and they can tire each other out in a way that I can't a lot of the time, or that takes a lot of like sustained high level exercise or training to do, and they can just wrestle for a little bit and have each other like tired. I think they have I think it's like really enriching that they have a strong, close relationship with another dog. I think it's good for dogs. I think dogs are social, and they tend to thrive with like more points of social attachment, similar to people, right? You can't just have like one person. It's better if you have like a family and also groups of close friends and maybe some fun like work acquaintances that you eat lunch with. And I think that's good for them. But I think dogs have a fun extra wrinkle where if you're a dog that likes to play, those games that you play might be a little rough and tumble. So it definitely helps if you know the other dog you're playing with, 1, won't really hurt you, and 2, if they do make that mistake and hurt you a little bit, will stop if you say so you don't have to insist on it. And then it's like fights, they don't fight. And they don't fight. And that's it. That's just the thing I wanted to say, because it was just a fun interaction, or not a fun interaction. It was like, I guess, a negative interaction, but like an interaction that I think if they had just been strangers could have ended worse than it did. And just so everyone knows, neither dog is hurt. Like, I checked them over. Nobody's bleeding, nobody's limping. I really don't know how one dog hurt the other. Could be literally anything. And they're fine. Like, they're back to playing. There's no trust broken. It's just like a normal communication. So, yeah, I guess that's my thought on dogs. And if this video weren't getting a little bit longer than I'd like because I'm recording on my phone, I would probably, say something philosophical about human relationships and how healthy discourse has to be based on a foundation of mutual trust and affirmation of each other, like good faith, discussion, and each other's humanity. Because if somebody feels like, there's an inherent disrespect, an inherent power relationship, somebody's like, got a financial incentive to fight, somebody's financial incentive, to win, any of those things, you kind of lose any sort of trusting foundation that you would need to have a healthy discourse, even where you might disagree. I think that's something. I also think it's funny, thinking of children, because like the thing I said to the dogs when that happened was like, it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye, and like this is why there's no roughhousing. But I said that as a joke because you can't tell the dogs to not roughhouse, because that is how they play, is by roughhousing. And we do not accept that with human children because we know that they can easily get hurt without anybody meaning to, even if they play sports, even if they're just playing tag, even if they're just running around. It's really easy for someone to get hurt, and we kind of minimize that risk for human children. But you can't really with dogs because like they're gonna run around and bite each other. I think I'll leave it at that. It's a rainy October day, and we're out here. All right, say bye, dogs. Good dogs. That girl, Dasher. Good girl. And good boy, Adkin.